Hello everybody, I'm in Cardiff.
Welcome to Alchemy Lab. Today Keith and I are going to be making lentil curry. So what we're starting off with is we've soaked the lentils for half an hour now. So what we're going to do is first of all just go wash them.
So after these lentils have been soaked for half an hour, they need to be washed, as you can see. Very important to get rid of the starches. Usually one uses a sieve, but we don't have one, so we're being very innovative. We're using a colander. Done. So the lentils go back in the pan onto the fire, and of course we're going to add some water to them, which has already been heated in the kettle. This is a handy way to save time. So we'll heat those to boiling and then we'll simmer them for around 15-20 minutes. The lentils are heating up. We've got the other pan out, and this is the pan that we're going to use to be working with the oil and the spices and all the other ingredients which are going to go in. So what's the very first thing we're going to start with?
Onion.
Okay. Onion is rich in sulphur, which makes it a useful food for people, apart from those few people who are intolerant to it. And it's highly regarded in all Indian subcontinent cuisine for very good reasons, because it does amazing things with flavours. And this evening we're using red onions. You could use brown. The brown onions are generally a little bit stronger in my opinion. We've got one full mug of lentils which are soaked and are now boiling, and we've got one large onion which has been cut, as you can see, into nice small pieces. So what's our next step?
Garlic.
It's the garlic. So I'm curious to see the method that you use for the garlic, because everyone's got their own approach. Oh, you do exactly what I do. Yes, I like that. The crushing with a knife. It's so satisfying. You can really apply your force when you do that. It feels good. And you're making a strong connection with the clove. Better than using these fancy devices, in my opinion. And then that makes it so much easier to take off the peels.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It was a little Jamie Oliver trick I learned.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. Just roughly chop up the garlic, but if you don't like the taste of garlic, chop it smaller.
Yeah.
But I like garlic, so we're leaving it big and chunky today.
Let me just show you, folks. So there's a pan. It's on the heat, but the heat's quite low. The wonderful coconut oil we're going to use, and look at that quantity, folks. Be envious. Remember, it's brain food.
In it goes.
Something very satisfying about watching a really lovely oil just ease itself into liquid state in the pan. So what are we going to begin with our oil?
Some mustard seeds.
Okay, mustard seeds it is. A couple of teaspoons full.
Yeah. And now if we had curry leaves, we would add them at this stage.
Yes. And we don't, so in goes the garlic.
So in goes the garlic.
So we've got an arrangement of spices we're going to put into this, and the one I'm really curious about is a tamarind, because I tend to use the paste. However, tonight we're going to be using the block, which is much more natural. I'm curious to see how that gets done. So our next stage in the preparation is the tomatoes.
You can leave these again quite chunky because we're going to be cooking on very low heat. The garlic starts turning slightly brown. In go the onions.
And this really is an alchemical process, what you've got going on there. The oil, together with the garlic, together with the onions, together with the mustard seeds, they're all mixing and blending, which is alchemy. In fact, a further digression into alchemy, which is the understanding of alchemy is seen in the word solve et coagula. So first of all you have the process of analysis and the process of synthesis. So you take each vegetable and you analyse it by cutting it down into smaller and smaller pieces, and you put it together in your alchemical vessel, and you mix and you synthesise what it is you're going to create. So what comes into the picture now?
So we'll let the onions cook with the garlic for around 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, okay. And use this time to do some more vegetable preparation, presumably. Right.
The 2 tomatoes, half a bell pepper,
And I'm going to imagine you're going to say cut them fairly coarse.
yes.
Yes. Because we're doing a slow cooking process. The potatoes. Just a couple of medium ones. Potatoes will add potassium to the mix, which is particularly appropriate on this plant diet. Helps the person to become more flexible and more open. So you're getting the picture now. We're cutting things not too fine all the way through this.
My own personal preference when it comes to potatoes is for around about 2 medium-sized potatoes. I get half a teaspoon of bicarb soda.
Yeah.
And then I go just soak this in water until I'm ready to use them.
I've never heard of this. Whilst I'm following, I'm going to ask you, there's bound to be a reason for the bicarb, so what does the bicarb do here?
A lot of the things that we're using today are alkaline, potatoes are acidic. Bicarb soda being a highly alkaline thing that we can kind of consume, I just hope and assume that it soaks into the potatoes.
So it's just going to balance the potatoes?
I hope so. There's no study behind this, but this is my interpretation and my belief
Okay.
in this system.
It's when you come over to the pan and you put your wooden spoon in and give them a little stir. This is you just giving more attention to those plant spirits, putting your energy into them and just tuning into them tuning into you. Preparing for when you and these beautiful plants actually become united in your body and their digestive system. So it's all good to do these things.
There you go. This tamarind block, as opposed to the tamarind paste, is you take approximately 20 grams worth and just soak it into water.
Previously boiled water that's being added. So the story is, this means that the whole thing will take a little bit more time, and it will be worth it, because it always is when you take a bit more time when it comes to cooking.
And it gives you more time to be inspired to add or take away from whatever you like from the cooking process, so it's not rushed.
Exactly.
So we just leave that to soak.
Yeah.
And now we tidy up in between until we're ready to add the other ingredients. I'm all of a sudden inspired to add star anise, but that could also be because it's a spice that suits my Vita Pata type.
Pitta Vata.
Pitta Vata, sorry.
It's great, lovely. So this is a really important thing that you've just demonstrated to us, which is the idea about being in tune when you're cooking. If you get a sudden impulse to add something extra, you put it in. And if there's something that you actually thought you were going to put in the meal and suddenly you get this impulse to leave it out, you leave it out. So you're really flexible into the moment. This is such an important thing about the shamanic cuisine way of working, being in tune with alchemy.
Now usually the star anise would go in right at the start of the
Yes.
cooking process when the mustard seeds went in.
Yes.
So I'm trying to cover it with and surround it with as much oil and gravity as possible by putting the onions on top of it, just so it can infuse.
Yes, to get it to infuse. Yeah, got you.
Okay, and green chili.
Time for a green chili. One green chili is going to do the job. Just get the colour, people. It's lovely, isn't it? These colours that we work with. So nice. So now in goes the tomato.
At this stage, I would again go and add some more baking soda, because tomatoes, when they're raw, they're actually alkaline, and when they're cooked, they become acidic. But because we're quite restricted to the amount of salt we can use in our shamanic cooking, I'm hoping and cheating and hoping some of the salt will come through from here and at the same time alkalize my tomatoes.
So you're a card governor.
Huh?
You're a card governor.
I'm a card governor?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's kind of cockney, basically. A
Can
card.
you smell the star anise right now?
Yes, I can.
Oh, I love it.
I'm sorry we don't have a smelloscope attached to this iPad. If we did, you'd be able to sniff it, so you have to just trust us on that one.
The potatoes have been drained, and they're just going to get added to this. This will probably need cooking for around half an hour. I'm going to put the heat up slightly now.
Yes.
They'll have enough water coming off from the tomatoes so it won't stick, but it's nice to check back every now and again and add. I would add a little bit of oil, because I find adding water, the potatoes don't seal up the way they're meant to, and they don't retain as much flavor so I would add a little bit of oil at some stage if it needs.
I am exactly the same way. I don't like to add water in this process. It seems to defile what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now the red peppers are going in. Good. So you can see, people, how it's really useful to have bowls for when you've cut something up and you want to just put it to one side and your cutting board is still available for the next activity.
And then that go back into the fridge.
Certainly. A few minutes, it's important to go over and give things a stir and see how they're doing. And now I believe it's time to add some more spices. So what have we got now?
Some fenugreek.
Also known as mehti. That's the powder.
Some smoked paprika, because it adds nice colour.
Yeah.
A tiny amount of asafoetida.
Yeah, really a small amount there. You saw less than an 1/8 teaspoon, that would have been.
And a little bit of turmeric. Again, a similar amount. And then some black pepper.
So that's the
A
second.
generous amount of black pepper.
Okay, so that's the second stage spice. All the milled ones have gone in a little bit later, you can see. So one of the virtues of giving it a stir is if it starts to stick on the bottom at all, you're just redistributing the wet part with the drying out part. Always good. Leave it on for a few minutes until everything's ready. That's looking really nice now. Green chilli. So that was one whole chilli with seeds. Cut not terribly finely, you'll notice, like everything else. Almost at the end of the process, it did start to dry out a little bit, so a little bit of extra coconut oil has been added, just to keep everything moving nicely.
Potatoes are nice and soft, so that means we can now add our lentils.
And at this point it's really important to stir with really making sure that you get the sticky spicy stuff from the bottom of the pan really mixing well with the lentils. Makes all the difference if there's any chance of drying out at all. You can just watch the colour changing as we do this. And now we're going to add the tamarind, the whole lot, including the soaking water. It all went straight in. It was as simple as that. Okay, I was slightly surprised there, but that's okay. I like being surprised. Right, a little cumin. Actually a generous portion of cumin.
And twice the amount of coriander.
Yeah, twice the amount. It's funny that, but I understand them do the same thing. So we're about there. Lentil curry.
I want to add more chili actually.
More chili, okay. So there's a few chili flakes going in as well. I do like a mixture of the fresh chili and chili flakes myself, so I understand that completely.
Okay, I'm just going to let this to cook until some oil comes to the surface.
And then you're going to be saying it's ready.
And then it's ready, yeah.
Thank you. You've added a little bit of
Fresh coriander.
fresh coriander, just very coarsely sliced, as you can see. And does something to make it look very beautiful. Always important in this style of cooking.
Okay. Now for the taste.
We have Ahmed here to actually try what has been produced and taste, and we'll see what reaction we get.
It's very nice. It smells really good, and it tastes great. There's a little lemon and salt.
Thank you. This takes about 45 minutes to 60 minutes to cook, depending on quantity of ingredients and such like. And this was served with a little lemon on the side, and we've all gone back for more. So there you go. And the last thing to say is that the addition of potatoes to the dish means it is a meal that stands on its own rather than simply being a dish to be part of a larger meal.